Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? My name is Tony Rizano, and you're listening to another episode of the world famous The University Love, the best podcast in one, two, three galaxies. But, ladies and gentlemen, you and I, we just call this show Online Marketing Moves, and we are coming to you live today. Ladies and gentlemen, if you hear me feel like I'm being distracted today, it's because for once, ladies and gentlemen, I am recording. I am using, of course, I use the Riverside app, but I am using the video side of the Riverside app. So I am looking at the camera while recording, and I'm going to do a bad job because I'm just going to stare into the microphone because that's what I do. But ladies and gents, we have a very exciting show for you today. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about something very unexpectedly today. We are going to talk about hip hop and the marketing of hip hop. To be a top tier rapper, do you have to do the following? ... And the reason why I bring this up is because I saw this young man named BossMan D-Lo, BossMan Down Low, whatever you want, however you want to say it. Apparently, he was exposed by a gentleman or a gentle lady, however you want to put that. Okay, a man who dresses like a woman is trying to say that BossMan D-Lo was entertaining his advances and trying to get with him. And, that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. Ladies and gents, if you are a man on the down low, I have a piece of advice for you. You might want to avoid, just go to Thailand and get lady boys, okay? If you live in America, listen, if you live in America and you want to be on the down low and you like dating men that dress like women, somebody will expose you eventually, okay? So listen, all of that is out of my pay grade, okay? But I'm just telling you, especially you're famous, you're gonna get exposed, okay? It's just the way it is. You know, if you're just gonna be gay, man, just be gay. Just come on out with it, man. Okay? Especially, listen, I have a newsflash for you. If you've been to jail, if you served, 5 years and up in jail, you you've probably had some activities with another man. Okay, it's it's just the way it is. From 1 year to 5 years, you're probably letting lay down with a man or something at some point in your life. Okay, I've never been to jail, but I've worked at one. I worked at a prison for a couple years. It's something. It is something. I Hey, listen. I know people like to think jail is cool, but jail ain't cool. Jail is not the place you want to be. Trust and believe you me. Working there was fine, but I got to go home every night. I got to go home and got to go see, whoever I wanted to see. A lady, okay? I enjoyed the ladies myself. That's just me personally, but hey, to each their own. But boss man D-Lo, he was exposed, and then I just knew. I said, I bet you this guy's been to prison or he sold drugs. And boom, boom, boom. He's done both, okay? And there is a formula in marketing hip hop artists. And the more you go by this formula, the more records you can sell. I used to not be one of these people who put on the 10-4 hat and be like conspiracy theory, but it's mighty funny, mighty strange. Whenever, you just can't be, because listen, as I told you before in this show, hip hop is wrestling, okay? Hip hop is professional wrestling. There's no way about it. People make up stories. I mean, Fat Joe himself, he said he made up 95% of his the stuff in his rhymes with lie. Listen, rap is professional wrestling, okay? You gotta be a big time drug dealer. I ate I ate lunch with Noriega down at the bodega. Okay? You gotta sort of act like that, okay? It's just the way it is. You gotta, I don't know. In hip hop, they like the more the debauchery, the more records you can sell. And so I knew BossMan Delo. I know he went to jail. I know he was either in a gang or he sold drugs. Probably, nobody ever talks about their dad in hip hop. Nobody's like, my dad was a great dad. No. I mean, one of the best songs in hip hop is, Dear Mama, you know what I'm saying? So no, no giving props to your dad. Let's see. One jail sentence, being a gang or sold drugs. Never wanted this. It just happened speech. I put that into my list because I remember once Beanie Siegel, who I bought a couple of his records. One time he was like, "Man, I didn't even want this to happen. It just sort of happened to me." But then kind of find out he was standing outside, some office wherever Jay-Z and Rockefeller office was at, and he was out there just rapping and rapping and rapping and rapping and and just going on and on and on. And he got a record deal. So you got to try to act real cool, like, nah, man, I ain't, And there's so many people that got, they like 13 or 14, trying to rap or trying to do like, the what's the thing you do at school, the school talent show or whatever. There's a lot of people that try that. They're like, no, I wasn't looking for that. What's one of the kids in the Migos? They were in the Whitney Houston video. Come on, man. You've been trying to be famous. That's all right, Hey, man. Look, Bow Wow. Bow Wow he's been doing it since he was like 5 or 6, man. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be famous, but don't act like it. Hey, man. Hey, I'm too cool for school. Another one. You got to be from the muddy mud. Okay. What do I mean by that? I mean you cannot grow up in a mansion and be a rapper, because people are going to say, no, man, you ain't had a hard, you don't know about living. Anybody can be a rapper, because most of the rhymes, most of the stories are made up. As I just told you, ladies and gentlemen, this is professional wrestling at its purest form. Okay, this is the real land of make believe, but there's a certain formula you must follow. Okay, you gotta sell the drugs. You gotta be in a gang. You got certain things you gotta do. Okay, Master P made a whole song about cooking up crack. Master P, you think Master P sold crack like that? No, Master P was like, I want to be a basketball player. Master P stopped rapping basically to go try out with the Toronto Raptors and the Charlotte Hornets back-to-back years. So selling drugs. There's no real. If you was a big time drug dealer and you was making plenty of money selling drugs, you would just quit. You would just keep doing that, right? Why would you want to get into a Sprinter van, driving all around your local, counties, trying to sell tapes and all this kind of stuff? This is what you want, man. This is what you want. I remember, I saw a thing, Jeezy the Snowman. He sold so many birds. He sold a lot of birds, sold a lot of O's. I saw an old clip of Jeezy the Snowman in some town in Georgia, rapping like he was Trick Daddy, and I shook my head, I chuckled, and I said, "But of course, okay." I think all of a sudden, Jeezy was like, "I'm selling so much snow, I'm selling so much below. I got to go into my local store and do some more rapping and rhyming." No, this is what this guy always wanted to do. This is what any of them always wanted to do. They want to be entertainers. Hip hop is entertainment at the end of the day, and but in order to get, it's not like being an actor. It's not like being Denzel, and you go to a school. It's not like Viola Davis. She went to Juilliard, and she wanted to act. I listened to a book, by the way, which is a great book. Viola Davis, she went to like Juilliard, and she wanted to be an actress, and she always wanted to be an actress, and she worked, and she kept trying to, and got into different parts, and kept moving up and moving up, and I remember she did a movie with Meryl Streep, and she was nominated for an Oscar. It was like about the nuns. It was a good movie. And then I remember she did The Help, and then she was even a bigger star. Now she's a super duper mega star. But what I'm saying is, Viola Davis never said, "Man, I was selling crack in Rhode Island before I could make it." I was just selling coke I was running back and forth to Massachusetts selling coke. She never had to say that. And Denzel never had to say, I was selling weed I was selling weed, these people never have to say, oh man, I went to Mexico and talked to the biggest coke dealer in the world, and then he was like, you know what, you need to stop this, and you need to start rapping, you need to start acting. Nobody ever said that. Julia Roberts never had to say, I was selling I, I was selling speed. I was selling speed before I got put onto movies. No, nobody has to say this, but people in hip hop. Why? I'm telling you, I used to not be a conspiracy theory, but there is a formula that you must follow. Why is that? Why is that? No other form of entertainment. No other form of entertainment has to have this debaucherous sort of reputation and be like, oh, Jay-Z is 50 something years old. And the last time, I used to, hey, listen, I had volume 2, volume 3, I had the CDs. This guy used to argue. When I worked at the prison, speaking of the prison, when I worked at the prison, this guy used to argue me up and down. Jay-Z ain't that good, man. Jay-Z ain't that good. And I was always like, what's his problem? But I remember one day, I was probably, 30, 31, and I heard a Jay-Z song, and I was like, come on, bro. We still can't be talking about selling drugs at this point in our lives, huh? I'm 31. I've been a fan since I was like 18. And at that point, I was just like, I'm off the Jay-Z. I'm off the Jay-Z bus. And I was like, man, you know what? After a while, I had to get off the hip-hop bus because it's just like, this is just, I stopped watching wrestling too. And so for me, I gave up wrestling. I said, you know what? If I can give up that, because it's cool, but, it's wrestling. It doesn't do it for me anymore. And hip hop doesn't do it for me anymore. But there's a formula that apparently you must follow to sell more and more and more. God forbid if you grew up in a private school. Man, listen. Nope. You can't do that. You gotta come from the muddy mud. You gotta be super duper poor. Why is that? Okay? It's a marketing formula that works. And that's the bad part. That's the sad part. The formula for hip hop is to be a criminal, be debaucherous, but it's a formula that has worked since NWA been around. So for the last 30 years, you can't just be, hey man, you can't just be rapidy rap, KRS-One, rapidy rap, Rakim. Nope. Can't be none of that no more. Rapidy rap. And you see it. You see the people. They like to rhyme. They like to rap. They're not like, man, I sold 55 packs in the back of my Chevy, and I was ducked down, and the bullets were spraying, and they were saying, go, 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 all the way. Listen, rapidy rap don't work. You gotta have the formula, man. I mean, you can't be like Outkast. Hey, we two friends, we met, we started rhyming, and we started going around, and we did, our songs took off. Man, that's dead. That kind of stuff is dead. You gotta now. I mean, you gotta go to jail or sell drugs or claim you sold drugs, claim you go to jail. You gotta be debaucherous for some reason. Why is that? Why does this formula work? But it works. Sad to say, people sign up for it. Why? Because it pays. And then you can go from that to you can go from selling drugs allegedly to hanging out with the president or something, or you can get in the movies eventually. You could be DMX and be in movies or name any other. I mean, I just saw, yeah, you can, because hip hop is the lowest form of entertainment. Once you get your foot in the door, then and once you once you get your foot in the door, in this low form of entertainment, then you can work your way up. But you know, it's a sad formula. It's a formula that works. People are gonna keep using it. Hopefully not. Hopefully people get away from it. I don't know. I don't listen to a lot of hip hop anymore, so I apologize if there's anybody selling platinum streams. People don't even buy CD. I got a CD I bought. I'll show you. Hold on. I got a CD I bought. It's not a hip hop CD. It's this is my jam now. The very best jazz instrumentals. This is what I like. Jazz, Nora Jones. What's this? A young lady. I can't say her name that well. Her last name is Joy, Samara Joy. I have two CDs of her. I have some Nora Jones CDs. I have some instrumentals. Also, I have what I got the very best of John Coltrane. Now I don't know if these are gonna go platinum, but I'm supporting CDs still. Make CDs great again. But I'm not that in hip hop, but I do know there's a formula because even when I was listening to it, when I was reading the source in Double XL and trying to see, who got the 5 mics and all this and all that, there was a formula that you follow, and it was about selling drugs or going to jail or Kanye. He came out and he was they put him in the backpack category. So Kanye he did something different, but you know I haven't listened to Kanye since Do You Realize You Was the Champion? I remember he had that some city 808 and Heartbreaks. I didn't listen to that because he was singing, and I was like, nah, that's okay. And I haven't listened to a Kanye CD West, and I don't know what happened to that fella, but he didn't go with the selling drugs or none of that. But I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say about Kanye West at this point. He's a sad case, but there is a formula in hip hop that you must follow, and of course you must. Yeah, you have to market, but you have to take on a certain persona because unfortunately, people will complain and say, "Oh man, they shouldn't do." But if you come out with positive raps, you come out with if you rap about God, people do not want to hear that. People don't want to hear about the Lord and all the Lord. It's just the way it is. There will be 50,000 people in the stadium listen to the most debaucherous music. But if you say, hey, we're gonna bring out the best Christian rappers known to man, you might get 15,000 people. You ain't gonna get 50,000 people, not in one stadium. No. So there's a formula, and I understand why people follow it because it can lead you to riches, you know. So it's a formula. It's sad. People are gonna keep on following it. People are gonna keep listening to that debaucherous music. But it be 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 very mindful. Hip hop is professional wrestling. So next time, if you are a wrestling fan, and the next time you hear anybody say wrestling is fake, you just tell them that rap that that music you listening to is just as phony as the wrestling that I watch. Okay, and wrestling's not fake because you can break your neck. The matches are scripted, but I would defend professional wrestling. The matches are scripted, but you definitely can hurt yourself in a very bad way when it comes to the wonderful world of professional wrestling. But hip hop, you could just go around and you can just say you sold more drugs than Noriega. You can take somebody else's name and you can make millions and millions and millions of dollars. All right. So if you want to be a rapper, follow the formula. Tell everybody you went to jail, be in a gang, sold drugs, pretend like this just happened. You never wanted it. I think you got to smoke or drink. You know, see Snoop Dogg promotes liquor, but then he don't drink it, which is nuts. Which I don't know why you would follow Snoop at this point, but hey, hey, listen, Snoop Dogg is a great family man, but Snoop Dogg followed the same formula himself. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm saying. Snoop Dogg is a nice guy. He's a family guy. He's been with his wife forever, but he knew he had to follow a formula. Everybody knows you got to follow a formula. Why do they have to follow this debaucherous formula? I don't know, but you got to follow it. You're gonna sell millions of records. It's just the way it is. It's the marketing of hip hop. Okay. It's what the audience wants, even though the audience says they don't want that. It's what the audience wants. It's what the audience buys. And sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to marketing, you have to give your audience what they want. If that's what they want, this is what these people are going to give to them. Okay? It's just the way it is. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we will be back tomorrow with an all new episode of Online Marketing Moves. I hope you enjoyed this video edition of the show. And you saw me hunched over for 20 minutes. Tomorrow, we probably will go back to regular audio recording because I am tired of looking at myself and see what's going on. But we will be back tomorrow. Listen, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, later on we will have I told you I made two courses. One, the truck or not truck. The other one is about should you stay in trucking? You know, the why and the why you should stay in trucking. Now we have a third. We have a bonus program for you. It's called God's Purpose, and it just talks about it just talks about creating things, creating a business, creating a path that you actually want to do. Because listen, God did not put us on this planet to work 20 hours a day. God did not put us on this planet to always have to be at work, always be working, always, God put us on this earth for a purpose. We all have gifts, we all have talents, but are we using them? And that's what that program is about. And we are going to have this package, and this package is going to run at a certain price, but we will have that package later on today. But in the meantime, I will leave the link below where you can click, you can sign up to be on the email list. As I told you before, we are here to show people how to escape, how to stop running around in a life that you can't escape from. There's no escape in life, okay? Drugs, booze, having sex with 100 people. You're still gonna have to live your life. You're still gonna be in that life. So why run from it when you can live it? You can create things that you want. You can create a life that you actually want to be in. So we are here to help with that. So we're going to have the email list for you. Sign up, and you will receive daily emails every day. And I, Tony Rizzano, are going to show you how to become an escape artist. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. The link will be below in the description. Come back tomorrow with all new episode of Online Marketing Moves. Come back tomorrow. We will have more things to talk about. But until then, my name is Tony Rizzano. God bless each and every one of you. And as always, everybody, peace.